Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Lava Land Podcast. Excited as always, but this week we got some pretty badass things to go over with y'all. And it's your boy Ryan Motter, aka Dolla Signet. And join with me as always, we have the man Jay Brand, and we have the man Sava Lava. And without further ado, I'm gonna tell you what you need to do, which is make sure that you go and hit the like button and subscribe to stay tuned for future uploads. And if you haven't already checked out the other episodes, go show them some love and comment and let us know what you guys are thinking. We got some cool things for y'all this week. We're gonna start with inflation. Let's talk about that.
Is that when you see a nice fat booty and then you feel something? Because I got inflated.
Is that like when you ate too much and your tummy hurts?
Ooh.
My tummy.
Speaking of which, we got a delicious bowl of stuffs here that Dolla
Indeed.
brought in.
I think.
So that is what we are kind of talking about inflation.
Oh.
Is with Doritos. So one, if you guys haven't noticed or weren't aware of the fact that Doritos now give you less in a bag than what they used to. They've reduced their sizings, which comes down now to typically like 3 less chips per bag. It also, obviously, we know with these bag chips, sometimes about maybe 35% of the bag, if not more, is air and not actual chips.
They be,
you know what I mean?
They be trying to say that it's for freaking like protection with transportation and shit. Like,
Right. And because they're name brand, which, let's be fair, when it comes to Doritos, you can only get name brand Doritos. Off-brand Doritos is ass, boy.
I don't know. I be buying them all the Doritos,
But the
they do have a different
Doritos,
flavor.
it's about $6 a bag right there with this new shit. So
Dang, what they put in that?
wow.
that's what I'm saying.
$6?
Yeah, just about $6 a bag. It's like
He
five
said-
something, like
he said-
$5.80 something.
He said, yeah.
Yeah.
How much
So-
was the bowl?
Now the bowl, that's courtesy of Jay Brand.
Oh,
Jay Brand?
shit. Yeah.
That's Pyrex. But we got a pretty interesting video for y'all this week about the origin of Doritos, because I was curious, as I typically sometimes come to find myself when I'm eating a bag of Doritos. I'm like, man, these are so good. But
How did they start?
where'd they come from, dude? I'm just trying to figure out how good are they, dude. So without further ado, Freddie, hit play.
Dust off your fingers. This one has some bold flavor.
Hold on. Before we start this, real quick, before we start this, can we shout out the creator? Like, whose video is this? Like, whose channel are we on right now? Alright. We gotta make sure we're shouting out the people
Yeah, for
stuff
real.
we're using.
That's what Weird History Food.
Okay.
Shouts out Weird History Food for this video, because they came in clutch with a little short description, maybe 10-minute, but you know, that's short in some terms, about the history of Doritos. And we don't even got to watch the whole video, but without further ado, chick with the Dorito bod, take it away.
One has some bold flavor.
Hey.
I do this.
The story of the world's most delicious flavored tortillas started in 1955, when the corporate conglomerate worlds of Frito-Lay and Disney collided. That year, the snack food giant and the House of Mouse teamed up to open an authentic Mexican restaurant called Casa de Fritos in Disneyland. It wasn't long before the restaurant became a hit.
Casa de
Nothing makes
Fritos.
Space Mountain more thrilling than riding it with a belly full of enchiladas. A local tortilla factory, Alex
35
Foods,
cents.
supplied tortillas for some of the restaurant's dishes.
So
One day, a
Doritos
salesman
started
from the company
in
stopped
Disney.
by and noticed kitchen workers throwing away stale tortillas. Aghast, he suggested the workers cut up the stale tortillas, fry them,
Aghast.
and serve them to guests. In other words,
He said,
the
hey, don't throw
beloved
that
junk
trash
food
away.
became
Why don't you just burn it and sell it to the people?
What we
became
just
a massive hit
put
among
trash
park
in a bag called
visitors.
Doritos, sell it
But
to
nobody was thinking about a junk food empire.
She a baddie.
Not until Arch West, Frito-Lay's vice president of marketing at the time, whose name sounds
dapper
like a
man.
yoga move, visited the park in 1964 and took a bite of the chips. He immediately fell in love and convinced his bosses to let Alex
Fell in
Foods
love.
mass produce them for Frito-Lay. In one of his final interviews published by Maxim in 2011, West noted
Random.
Doritos were unique among other chips at the time. He said Doritos circumvented the normal R&D process. new products typically came from the lab, but our spicy friend was a more organic invention. West pitched the idea of cutting the chips into triangles to reduce waste. Then it was simply a matter of coming up with a name. While some sources claim the name Doritos came from the Spanish word Doradito, meaning little golden, West wove a slightly different tale. He was inspired by the word oro, which means golden. He then added the ito suffix to make sure customers knew it was part of the Frito brand of products.
That's pretty
As
cool.
for the
Wow.
D, West just decided to put the letter in front of his made-up
He
word.
just had to
on
put
a
the
whim.
D. I
This
love
is
the D.
that Alex Foods couldn't keep
Oh.
up, and production of Doritos moved to Frito-Lay's Tulsa plant shortly after. In 1966, the Frito-Lay company released
Can't take
Doritos
me
to the
anywhere.
public, and the chip became an overnight success. Since then,
The
numerous flavors have
simultaneous,
come
everybody made a
and
joke
gone.
about the D.
chips have starred in some memorable
1974
as
is
well
when the
as some
iconic
awful ad
nacho
campaigns.
cheese Dorito
Nacho
was
cheese flavored
released.
Doritos brand tortilla
Right here.
chips.
West was given
Bro, my
accolades
crunch
for
was
his role
way
in
better
creating
than that.
Doritos. And when he passed
Hold on,
away,
pause that real quick,
in
pause
2011,
that.
We about to get a
he was
crunch
laid
in,
to
bro.
rest.
Nah, we're having a crunch off.
This is a crunch off, mate.
We're having a crunch off.
Sava, go first.
All right, here we go. You guys ready for this?
That was spicy.
That was good.
All right. Let Dolly get one.
That's crispy.
That was close. That was close.
Right here. That is how you do it right here. Turn this muff sideways.
Oh, dang, dude. Oh my god. Let us know who won.
Tastes as good as they crunch.
So what I'm understanding is you gotta do it sideways to get that crunch.
What they hiding in them pyramids, dude? That's a big distraction. is all
Why it
it
look
is.
like a fish with freaking like crab pinchers?
That don't look right.
Taste as good as they crunch.
That's the
Despite
80s.
being
Oh,
one of
look
the
at that
prime
dude.
Dorito flavors.
That's Cheech
Cool
and
Ranch
Chong, so it
Doritos
goes.
didn't enter the junk food scene until 1986, 20 years after the first Doritos
David
hit
Leno,
the
Jay
shelves.
Leno.
I know it's weird.
David Gennaro.
Eventually, Doritos experimented with other types of chips as well, including
dang.
3D Doritos,
David
which
Dorito
are
right
basically
there.
a spicier version
Oh,
of
I remember
Yours.
those, the
Other
puffy
chip ventures
things.
included small tube chips called Rolitos,
Rolly.
dual flavored chips called Doritos Collisions, baked chips,
Banned.
and chips with different mystery flavors, which sounds like a fun idea until the mystery flavors turn out to be things like cheeseburger and Mountain Dew, two things that go hand in hand
Grilled
with Doritos,
cheeseburger.
but were never meant to go on Doritos.
At least it's not raw
And if you do have a
cheeseburger.
favorite flavor, hopefully it's not one that's been discontinued. Just like the legendary sour cream and onion flavored Doritos,
I never knew that they
flavors
made
of
a
the
sour
chip get
cream and onion
retired
Dorito.
regularly.
That dude is
Sometimes it's because of a limited
unemployed.
time promotion. or
Those
an
are my
experiment.
shits right
Other
there, dude.
times,
Thai sweet chili.
like
Oh,
cheeseburger
dude.
Purple
gets
bag.
put out to
Purple
pasture.
bag all day.
Whatever the case, there are a ton of Doritos
Can't put
flavors
down
and
the
styles
bag.
that are no
Well, there's
longer
two
on the
different
store
purple
shelves.
flavors. There's a
There
Thai
was
Sweet and
even
spicy
a
chili
Texas
is what I'm
cheese
talking
flavor that was
about.
available
That's
for
what
a
I'm
short
I think
time
it's the
that
same
combined
thing.
powdered
Oh, these are the same
softness of
company,
Cheetos
Cheetos? That
and the
makes sense.
aerodynamic
Oh, they got the
majesty of
O's.
Doritos. The flavor debuted around 1995.
They did it like
but
they
it
did
was
like a combo
discontinued
where
shortly
they were
after
like in the
its
same
debut.
bag.
A
I
similar
think anything
fate
that ends in
befell
O's,
Jumping
though,
Jack
is
cheese
the same
Doritos.
brand. It's all under Fritos.
That's capitalism, dude. That's monopoly right there.
Yeah, oh, love it first bite.
It's all right. We can cut it.
It might seem hard to believe, but today's
Doritos
Doritos are a
tasted
little
corn
bit
flavor.
different
That would
from
be
the original
interesting.
product. In 1994, the chip underwent a $50 million redesign to make them larger and more flavorful. What else would you expect from a brand whose one-time slogan was, "Attack the sack with a snack that fights back"? The redesign
Attack
produced
the
Doritos
sack.
that were 20% larger and 15%
Dude, I thought that was
thinner.
Dumbledore
The
at
new
first,
and
bro.
approved chips also carried more
Chevy
flavor
Chase.
seasoning
Swinging in.
and had rounded corners. Why the rounded corners? The
You know,
change
there's a
coincided
fucking-
with a 1995
baddie.
lawsuit against
Oh, here
the
we go.
brand brought by
There's
a
a
man
whole
named
city
Charles
in Maryland
Grady.
called
Hold on, hold on,
Chevy
hold on.
Chase.
Insisted the chips were dangerous. While demolishing a bag of America's favorite flavor-dusted snack, Grady claimed to suffer an esophageal tear at the hands of the tortilla chips.
This is
Not
why
to
they're
bring in
round.
Expert testimony from a retired professor who performed plenty of tests on the chip. Although, notably, none of the tests involved actually chewing a Dorito. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court eventually threw the case out because it smacked of a high
Chew your food, dude.
experiment and didn't have any bearing on the consumption of foodstuffs. Sometimes
He
a
just
bag of chips
swallowed
can
the
be
whole
a
chip
little
and
too
sued him.
spicy. In 2015, one British Dorito fan got more than she bargained for when she picked up a bag of Doritos roulette chips. although in the UK they're called crisps.
What the heck?
Have you seen my crisps?
Despite the fact that this is obviously incorrect. True to their name, the Roulette branded Doritos contained a few incredibly spicy chips in each bag.
So basically,
there was even
that's
a prominent
wild.
warning on
One
the
of the
package
chips-
stating,
Oh.
warning, some of these chips are
Like the
ultra
one
spicy.
chip challenge, but they're in
Oh.
there.
To make kids want them more.
That's
According
kinda
to a
interesting.
2015 report in The
Monday
Guardian,
so far.
a student at George Pinder School in Scarborough ate a packet of the chips at lunch with her one day and began to experience breathing trouble. The chip was so spicy, it nearly triggered the student's asthma. Although, luckily, the episode passed without an
Okay, it's
attack.
not on
The
Doritos,
incident
though.
elicited a generic response
if you
from
already
Doritos
know
corporate
spicy food
spokesperson,
fucks you up,
stating,
why are
"We were
you
sorry to hear
messing
about
with
what
some
happened.
wild
We
ass
do
one,
want
right?
people to expect a seriously spicy experience with Doritos Roulette, and we make this clear on the pack and in adverts." In other words, when you decide to
Those
party with
roulette
Doritos
ones kind of
Roulette,
remind me
you're
of like
accepting
the
a
Bean
small amount
Boozled
of risk.
Jelly
You're beginning
Bellies.
the game.
Nasty.
Yeah,
In
dude.
2021,
Tastes
the
like
food
throw
blog
up.
Dude,
Delicious
those
They
were-
about
announced the
make
brand
you
would
those
make a
are
comeback.
awful.
Today, they found a new popularity
that
on
one time.
TikTok under hashtag Doritos Dare to be Burned. Speaking of Doritos on TikTok, the craziest
I
development
like
in the
that
snack
idea.
foods history
I've
is
never heard of those
arguably
That would be
before.
fun
a
someday if
teenage
we
girl
did.
sold
Yeah,
a
do like
jacket
the-
of
Just
Doritos
pass it around.
Put it in
of
a
new
bowl
car.
and-
According to a 2021 Business Insider report,
What the heck?
13-year-old Queensland native
It'd have to stay
Wiley
in the bag,
Stewart
though. I bet
found
you
a
could pick
strangely
it out.
puffy chip in her
Right.
bag of Doritos.
Oh, right, has like
Stewart
extra-
asked her
That's what I'm
followers
saying, like,
what
pass the
to
bag
do.
around, just
After
take one
receiving
out.
responsible but boring advice like put it in a museum, she did what most of us would do in
Also
her
seen videos
situation.
where, like, people
she
do,
put
like,
it on
food
eBay for an
tasting
opening
stuff
bid
like
of
that, where, like, they're
99 cents.
blindfolded.
After her TikTok video attracted over 4 million views,
that
her
100
eBay listing
grand
got the attention
that
of
someone bought
Doritos
that for?
officials, who bought the puffed up
They ended
chip
up
for
buying it for $20,000.
$20,000.
Still,
praising
though.
Stewart's
A
entrepreneurial
puffed
spirit.
out
Well, the
Dorito.
saying goes, the only two things certain in life are death and taxes. There's actually a
That's
third
crazy,
certainty,
dude.
inflation, and not even the mighty Dorito is immune.
be
Recently,
fair,
inflation has caused one of the most beloved
Inflation.
tortilla chips of all time
Just
to
a couple
reduce
weeks
the
ago,
volume
we
of
talked
its
about
bags.
that lady who
Frito-Lay
sold
told
that
Newsweek
Cheetos
earlier
she
this
got
year
that looked
each
like
bag of
Charizard
Doritos
for
would now contain
87,000.
5 fewer chips. That effectively reduced the size of Doritos currently on the shelves from 9.75 ounces to 9.25 ounces.
Wow.
While that may not sound like much,
Shrinkflation.
nothing
That's what I was
riles up
talking about,
people
that
more than
shrinkflation.
smaller
Oh, he-
portions.
hey,
Despite this
he
injury, the
hacking
brand
it.
is retains its popularity
hacking
today.
the lunch.
Just that to buy an extra bag with the same number of chips. And more Doritos usually.
Packed his lunch. He can't handle all that.
So what do you? What's your favorite Doritos flavor?
I was more than I thought, honestly.
That's
like,
pretty interesting.
Doritos has a pretty wild past, honestly.
Right?
Like,
They got that reputation.
yeah, dude. Making pyramids of tastiness and killing kids with asthma.
I'm about to really start paying attention to like these foods that I be eating out of these bags. If I find something like that and I sell that bitch, like
That's what I'm saying.
what
Dude.
the heck is what's first of all, what the heck is wrong with people that are gonna buy that? What are you gonna do with that?
Because, you know, like I said in the previous episode a long time ago, I got a George Washington Lay's for your ass. You know what I'm saying?
But that one wasn't even pareidolia. That one was just a puffed out Dorito.
That's true. That's true.
That's what's weird to me. Like
I guess it's because it's so, like, different. It's like, let's say that if,
it's
like,
rare.
you know, like Pringles are a certain shape, right? But if you got a Pringle in your canister that was like a totally weird
It's
ass
like
shape,
it's kind of the same thing as like
it'd be
a
rare, you know?
like a misprinted Pokemon card or something.
right.
Maybe it
Still,
was the
though.
dude who made the chip on accident.
They gonna find me,
What if
dude.
you
Let
did
me
it
sell
on-
me that chip back.
What if you did it on purpose?
It's
I
like
heard there was one.
Doritos itself bought the chip back.
yeah, they
That's
did
what I
for
just-
20,000. They're like, wait a minute, where'd you get that? Let me double check. We gotta figure out how we fucked up.
They made him. They made him
Call
sign.
corporate.
They made him sign an NDA and shit.
Yeah, they're like, who built this chip? They
Yeah.
narrow it down to the motherfucker that was working that machine.
We better start talking about. Stop talking about this chip, dude.
We're doing a recall on this one chip.
Yeah.
How many times do you think somebody got fired trying to figure out like that worked for Doritos, trying to figure out what the secret recipe was?
Secret formula. Let me figure that out. You'll never get the secret formula like that.
Yeah.
The formula. 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 Oh my god.
Yeah, y'all don't get any context for that.
Ravioli, ravioli, give me the formula.
Yep, crazy.
I mean,
Just
you,
goes to show
you
you,
kind of
man.
go with a you mama joke on that one where your mama's so stupid somebody told her it's chilly outside. She went and got a bowl.
Are you sure that's not a Yo Mama Was So Fat?
Yeah.
Yo Mama So Fat and Dumb.
See, mine
Chili's, baby.
baby back ribs.
It's the. You ever put butter on a Pop-Tart? It's so freaking good. You ever put butter on a Pop-Tart? If you haven't, I really think you should.
You know, let's talk about that because I've never put butter on a Pop-Tart. And you know what? One thing
I have.
One thing I also don't do with Pop-Tarts is I typically do not I don't heat them up.
Wasted. So this is the trick. You gotta. And this is the tried and true.
Tried?
As soon as that muff, when you hear the pop out the toaster, you know the ch-ch, letting it go. You grab that beast.
Wait a minute, am I fucking up?
You slather it up with real butter. Real butter.
Not margarine.
Not margarine. Real butter, and then let it soak in a little bit. I like to do it with the cherry Pop-Tarts. Shout out Pop-Tarts and the cherry Pop-Tarts. But, and then I dip it in some milk.
Hey.
And it's like,
Have you ever had butter on a
Pop-Tart?
It's so friggin' good.
You know what I gotta say, boys? Paula Deen would be proud of you, brother.
man.
Paula Deen.
I think she would say a certain word I can't, but she would be the butter lady.
Let's
That's
talk about that.
Hey, she was the butter lady, yo.
She was a butter lady. You know, she got her own restaurant. I think it's in Tennessee. My parents, they've been to it. In Pigeon Forge, maybe. Something like that. But I gotta go try that sometime because, you know, Paula Deen, she be cooking with the butter. Real butter. Not no margarine. We don't fuck around with the margarine.
I don't know if I want to go to her restaurant now.
Hey, what you mean, brother?
She ain't cool with the brothers.
But we is brothers. From another mothers.
It's true.
Paula Deen gonna be like, I'll make you something lean
Nah,
mean.
she's a sister from another mister.
She gonna make us a lean mean fight machine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, cuz.
Yeah, I don't know if she's George Foreman.
You know George Foreman died?
Yeah, I did hear that. He was cool.
Shouts out George Foreman.
No, think about this. George Foreman went back and won, I believe it was the heavyweight title at
He's a
like
small
45 years old.
Really?
45, bro. Think about that.
Wait a minute. Is George Foreman the same dude that was like, what you talking about, Willis?
Oh my God. Gary Coleman? Bro, Gary Coleman is like 90 years old and has like Benjamin Button syndrome, bro. He was like fucking this tall.
I was like, Gary Coleman. My whole life, I thought that the fucking grill was made by that dude.
It's Muhammad Ali. Yeah, Gary Coleman was the guy from, I think it was Good Times.
Yeah, one of them shows back in the day.
What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah. And no, George Foreman was a boxer. pull up Gary Coleman while we're talking.
Yeah, let's pull up Gary
no
Coleman.
way. Yeah. Pull that up in the background. Pull up Gary Coleman and pull up George Foreman. Gary Coleman.
We gotta get Courage the Cowardly Dog out of here, bro.
Look at Gary Coleman. He's like Benjamin Button, bro.
The bottom one, the bottom one, not the
He
fucking...
was the Benjamin Butter lady. Then pull up George Foreman. George Foreman. Yeah.
Dollar done fucked up, y'all. Hey, kind of similar look. Look, they both bald. They both got the fucking squinty eyes. You know what I'm saying? That's George
Oh
Foreman's
my
third
God.
cousin.
No, George Foreman was the lean, mean, fight grilling machine. Or whatever. The fat grilling machine.
Hey,
not
you
the
know
fight.
that we've had some good burgers out the Foreman.
Oh, dude.
Back
George
in the
Foreman,
day. Back in the day.
that sold
That was innovation,
Hotcakes.
bro. That was
an electric griddle with the grooves in it. So
Portable.
The grease like goes down. Now there's a whole like grill you can buy.
Oh,
That's
shit.
like fancy.
Yeah, but they were small.
It started
It's
from the
big.
Foreman, man.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Started from the Foreman.
That was
now we it.
the lean, mean, fat grilling machine.
I know why you thought it was Coleman, bro. Because on Drake and Josh, they called it a Coleman drill or grill.
Because I think there is a brand. Isn't there a brand called Coleman?
Coleman's like camping stuff, so they definitely.
Okay.
probably
There's an
have some
episode
kinda,
of
like,
Drake and-
camping grill for
Okay.
sure.
There's an episode of Drake and Josh where they're doing like a spin-off parody of like George Foreman, and his name's Gary Coleman.
Okay.
And they call it the Coleman grill, and they like basically this dude tries to have them like sell
They
these
have
grills
him
for him.
on there. They
That's what
have
I'm
that Gary
saying.
Coleman
That's
dude
what I'm
on the
saying.
episode.
Gary Coleman?
That's why I thought it was fucking George Foreman.
Yeah, maybe it was. Oh, was it actually him? Maybe it was
I
really
think
him.
it was, dude.
Hey, will you look
so
up one more
Raven.
thing real quick? Actually, look up Gary Coleman, Drake, and Josh.
I'm not as stupid as you thought I was, but
I guess it's just me. Sponge me, boy.
Drake and Josh, it's right there. Drake and Josh episode. It's Israel.
Israel.
I'm not crazy. Dolla's been redeemed.
But it's not real though. Like it was on a show.
But that would make sense why I thought it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because from a kid, you watching that show, you're like, oh, that's Gary Coleman.
Speaking of somebody,
They tricked your ass, dude.
little
That's
side
George
note.
Foreman.
Speaking of somebody that doesn't pay his bills, Drake Bell.
We know a little something
Yeah,
about
little
that.
Bird told me a long time ago that man bounces checks.
We
So-
worked for a place back in the day.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna say what
We
the
didn't
play
work
play.
anywhere. We just know things.
We're not supposed to talk about that, guys.
We don't talk about Bruno.
We ain't saying what it was. We ain't saying who it was. We ain't saying the company name. We ain't saying what it was.
Yeah, but like
No, I want to take no cut.
that wasn't like anything public. What happened?
No. But it just goes to show that we're not just blowing smoke up people's ass. We're not just coming out with this out of nowhere. We
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
know we know what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
that ain't anybody's business because he's a cool dude, and I feel bad for what happened to him.
Nice try, Diddy.
Yeah. You thought you had one.
No. What was his name? Brian Peck was the dude.
All that dude was weird.
Screw that dude,
Yeah.
man.
No, screw like.
And you know what's
90%
funny
them
is that a lot of people thought that
little
like
kid
Brian
shows.
Peck was like Josh Peck's dad because they have the same last name, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, dude,
Nah, dude.
that's just somebody else. Dude.
That's someone else.
That's an imposter
But anyways, I think in
because they
closing the
the
Gary Colemans and the George Foremans of the world would want for us to pray for peace so that
Yeah.
we're meeting each other in a more peaceful world next time.
You know, I just thought of
Yeah.
something. That would be a fire ass epic rap battles of history episode. Gary Coleman versus George Foreman. Begin.
Unfortunately, for HR reasons, we can't make that video happen. So,
Unfortunately, that was a bar.
yeah. So, somebody else is going to have to make that video. Maybe Key and Peele.
Yeah. Nah, Epic Rap Battles of History would do that.
Yeah, for real. They would hire Key and Peele because Key and Peele have been in a couple of their songs. The Gandhi and Martin Luther King episode, that's Key and Peele.
That was fire.
Cooking.
They cook.
They straight up cooking that.
Yeah. But it's been fun, I think.
Yeah.
I've had fun today.
You know, we appreciate everybody that tuned into this episode. Those Doritos were fire. And I hope you guys learned a little something about Sean Kingston. And without further ado, if you guys enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to stay tuned for future uploads. And if you haven't already, make sure you are going and checking out the other episodes. We want to see what you guys have to think. So leave a comment and make sure you let us know what's going on. Without further ado, we appreciate y'all. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.